The ceremony and the unseen burden, the grand hall of the Naval Command was stifling, air thick with polished brass and starched uniforms. Admiral Elias Grant sat in the front row, his spine rigid, fingers tapping the program where one name stood out. Lieutenant Mira Soren. The citation listed words like valor and sacrifice. But the woman who rose from the third row carried none of the expected pride. Mira moved like a shadow, sleek, silent, her uniform perfectly fitted but her eyes hollow. The applause washed over her as she took the stage, accepting the medal with a nod, not a smile. Grant watched her hand tremble slightly as she saluted, a crack in her steel. After the ceremony, cornered her near the portraits of the dead. "You refused this award twice," he said. "Why take it now?" Her voice was a whisper. "Because no one asked why before." I followed her to a locked briefing room. Out. Without a word, she unbuttoned her jacket, lifted her shirt hand. Grant's breath caught. Jagged scars laddered her ribs, but it was the two raised bumps beneath her skin that made his stomach twist. "Shrapnel," she said. "They left them in. Too risky to remove." "Who ordered the mission?" Mira's smile was bitter. "Ask the ones who buried the distress call we never received." The drop the helicopter's roar drowned out all thought. Lieutenant Mira Soren tightened her grip on the strap of her pack, the weight of her rifle a familiar comfort against her thigh. Across from her, Sergeant Jace Veldon flashed a grin, his teeth white against the camo paint streaking his face. "Easy in, easy out," he mouthed over the noise. Mira didn't smile back. The mission was straightforward. Extract Dr. Leora Hale, bioengineer kidnapped near the Philippine border. Intel suggested light resistance, a handful of insurgents. No. Heavy artillery. But as the chopper descended into the ink-black jungle, Mira's gut twisted. The jungle was too quiet. No birds. No rustling, just the hum of insects and the distant rush of water. Wrong. This is wrong. She signaled the team stay sharp and dropped into the wet darkness below. The ambush, they moved in formation, boots sinking into the damp earth. The GPS tracker on Dr. Hale's locator beacon pulsed steadily ahead. Then a click. Myra froze. The explosion tore through the night. Fire and shrapnel ripped through the trees. Jace shouted, but the sound was swallowed by gunfire. Mira hit the dirt, her ribs screaming as something hot sliced into her side. Blood seeped through her shirt, warm and slick. Trap. It was a trap. She rolled behind a fallen log, gasping. Ruiz, their medic, was down, clutching his throat. Kim was screaming, his leg a mess of blood and torn fabric. Jace grabbed her arm. "Gotta move." Myra's vision swam. Pain in her side was a white-hot brand. But she forced herself up. Drag, fight, survive. The long walk 3 miles. That was how far they had to go to reach extraction. 3 miles with Ruiz bleeding out. Kim unable to walk and Jace's arm hanging at a sickening angle. Myra carried Ruiz. First, every step sent knives through her ribs. She bit down on her tongue to keep from screaming, the metallic taste of blood filling her mouth. "Hang on," she hissed. "Just hang on." Ruiz's breath was shallow, his fingers clutching her sleeve. "LT, you're hit." She didn't answer. One by one, she dragged them through thorns, through mud, through the relentless drum of rain. Time stopped. Somewhere along the way, she realized, they knew we were coming. Aftermath, the medevac team. Found them at dawn? Myra collapsed as hands pulled her onto the stretcher. A medic swore at the shrapnel wounds, the blood loss. "You should be dead," he muttered. She passed out before she could reply. When she woke, the hospital ceiling was blinding. White tubes snaked from her arms. A nurse adjusted her 4. 3 made it, the nurse said softly. Mira closed her eyes. 3, not 6. 3. The cover-up, the debrief, was a joke. A captain she'd never met sat across from her, flipping through a file. "Standard op," he said. "Enemy got lucky." Mira's fingers curled into fists. They were waiting. "For us?" The captain didn't look up. "You're getting a medal. Be grateful." She threw the citation back at him. "The present Admiral Grant learns the truth." Back in the briefing room, Mira let her shirt fall back into place, covering the scars. Admiral Grant's face was stone, but his knuckles were white where they gripped the table. Orion Dynamics, she said. They were testing AI targeting. We were the live subjects. Grant exhaled slowly, and the distress call buried. It's just like my team. Silence then. Grant stood. We're digging this up. Every last lie. Mira smiled. Sharp, dangerous. Thing good. The file that shouldn't exist, the secure archives beneath Naval Command, smelled of dust and old paper. Admiral Elias Grant flipped through the mission logs of Operation Silent Tide, his jaw tightening with each page. The official report was clean to clean. No anomalies. No red flags. Just a routine extraction gone wrong. But Mira's scars told a different story. A shadow fell across the desk. Commander Tarek Reese, a wiry intelligence officer with a reputation for digging too deep, dropped a sealed folder in front of him. You'll want to see this. Inside was a single sheet of distress call, time-stamped 40 minutes before Mira's. Team deployed. Grant's blood ran cold. They knew too. The meeting that wasn't. God, Vice Admiral Cora Vexley's office was all sharp edges and colder smiles. She didn't rise when Grant entered. Elias, I heard you've been revisiting old missions. I heard you authorize them. Vexley's pen stilled. Standard protocol. The Hale extraction was vetted. Then why was Orion Dynamics in the loop before we were? A beat too long. Vexley set down the pen. I don't like your tone. Grant leaned forward. I don't like sending soldiers into slaughterhouses. Who altered the timestamps? Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Prove they were altered. 3. The whispers in the dark mirror found Jace in the Veterans Rehab Center, his left arm still in a sling.
Ow.
Digging, she murmured, handing him a coffee. He snorted. About damn time. Across the room, a news report flickered a segment on Orion Dynamics' new AI defense contracts. The CEO grinned beside Senator Idris Vonn.Jace, single quotes, his grip tightened on the cup. That bastard. He was at the briefing before we shipped out. Myra's pulse spiked. You sure? Slick hair, gold cufflinks. Hard to forget. She stood abruptly. Then let's give Grant proof. For the Breakin' Orion's offshore server farm was a concrete monolith in the middle of nowhere. Myra disabled the cameras with a code she'd acquired from a lesson legal contact. Jace whistled. When do you learn to hack? When they left shrapnel in my ribs instead of answers? The files were encrypted, but Mira had spent months memorizing every clearance code from her old unit. The screen flickered green dot, access granted. Emails, contracts, and one damning video. Permission meeting where Vaughn shook hands with Orion's CEO over blueprints labeled live field test. Jace cursed. They sold us out. Mira copied everything. Now we burn them. 5. The Admiral's Choice Grant was waiting at the docks when Mira returned. You're off mission, Lieutenant.
Us.
She handed him the drive.
Us.
Not anymore.
He played the video in his car, the glow of the screen etching lines into his face. When it ended, he exhaled slowly. This goes higher than Vexley. I know. They'll come for you. Mira touched the scars beneath her shirt. Let them try. Grant nodded. Then we do this loud. 6. The Trap Springs the press conference was supposed to be routine. Another PR win for Orion, then Grant took the podium. The Navy does not sacrifice its own for profit. The room erupted. Cameras flashed as he played the video. Vaughn lunged for the stage, but security held him back. Across the crowd, Mira locked eyes with Vexley. The Vice Admiral's mask slipped for 1 second. Fear. Mira smiled. Checkmate. The safe house smelled of mildew and gun oil. Mira pressed her back against the peeling wallpaper, counting the seconds between patrol cars passing outside. The drive containing Orion's secrets burned a hole in her pocket. JACE. Winced as he adjusted his sling. He realized we just declared war on some of the most powerful people in the country. Across the room, Admiral Grant fielded calls on a burner phone, his voice low and urgent. Mira watched the way his jaw clenched. When someone mentioned Senator Vaughn's connections, she ran a finger along her ribs, where the shrapnel lived. They started this war when they sent us into that jungle. A knock at the door. 3. Quick, too slow. Petty Officer Nia Cole slipped inside, her uniform replaced by civilian clothes, her eyes wide. They're scrubbing everything. Your service. Records, mission logs. It's like Silent Tide never happened. Mira exchanged a look with Grant. The game was already in motion. The senators moved. Senator Idris Vaughn's penthouse overlooked the city like a king's castle. He stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, swirling bourbon as his aide delivered the news. Admiral Grant went public with the video, sir. The press is calling for an investigation. Vaughn didn't turn. His reflection in the glass showed a man who had never lost a fight. Where's Lieutenant Soren? Safe house near the docks. We have eyes on her. The ice clinked in his glass. Send Morrow. The aide hesitated. Captain Dax Morrow. But he's Orion's problem solver. Vaughn finally turned, his cufflinks glinting. Make sure he understands. This ends tonight. The informant Myra recognized Captain Dax Morrow the second he stepped into the dim light of the docks. Out. Broad shoulders. A scar bisecting his eyebrow. Former Special Forces. Now Orion's fixer. But he wasn't holding a weapon. You're supposed to kill me, Mira said, her hand hovering near her sidearm. Morrow's smile didn't reach his eyes. I'm supposed to clean up messes, and you, Lieutenant, are a mess. He tossed a file at her feet. Names, dates, bank transfers. Everything you need to prove Orion paid off the Navy to look the other way. Jay stepped forward. Why help us? Morrow's gaze flicked to Myra's ribs. Because I was the one who trained your team, and they sent you in blind. Admission hung. In the air like smoke, Grant picked up the file. This is enough to bury them. Morrow lit a cigarette. The flame illuminated the hollows of his face. It's enough to start a war. You sure you're ready for that? Mira took the file. We already are. The leak Nia Cole was a ghost in the system, all a ranking tech with access to channels no one noticed. By dawn, the files were everywhere, secure. Navy servers, press and boxes, dark web forums. The headlines exploded by breakfast. Orion Dynamics bought officers to approve live soldier testing. Senator Vaughn, implicated in cover-up. Mira watched the news cycle erupt from a motel room, her ribs aching. With each breath, Grant was already summoned to testify before Congress. Jace was mobilizing veterans, groups outside Orion's headquarters, and Vaughn, he was scrambling. The bullet shattered the motel window at 3:17 a.m. Mira rolled off the bed just as the second shot punched through the pillow where her head had been. Glass rained down as she grabbed her pistol and crawled to the bathroom. Professional, precise. Morrow's warning had been real. She counted the silencers muffled. Whips his rounds embedded in the drywall. 4 shots. Standard magazine held 15. Mira burst from cover, returning fire. The shadowy figure in the doorway jerked, but didn't go down. Body armor. Then the fire alarm went. Sprinklers drenched the room as the assassin fled. Mira didn't chase. She grabbed her go bag and the second copy of the files. They're not trying to silence us anymore. They're trying to erase us. The broadcast. Mira walked into the WNN news studio at 6 a.m., still damp from the sprinklers. Producer paled when she unbuttoned her shirt enough to show the scars. Put me on air now. When the camera light turned red, Mira didn't flinch. My name is Lieutenant Mira Soren. 2 years ago, the Navy sent my team into an ambush to test Orion. Dynamics, AI, targeting systems? She held up the files. These documents prove Senator Vaughn and Admiral Vexley approved it, the anchor interrupted. That's a serious accusation. Mira leaned forward. You want serious? She lifted her shirt fully, revealing the twisted scars and the visible lumps of shrapnel. These are the receipts. The studio went dead silent. Somewhere in a penthouse, Vaughn shattered a glass. Somewhere in Navy HQ, Vexley ordered a lockdown, and in a safe house. Grant watched the broadcast and smiled. Checkmate. The aftermath of Truth, the Safe House TV blared Mira's scarred torso across every major network. The shrapnel ridges catching the studio lights like topographic maps of betrayal. Admiral Grant muted the sound as his burner phone lit up with the 7th call from the Secretary of the Navy. Jace whistled through his teeth. Well, you've officially pissed off every powerful bastard in the tri-state area. Mira rebuttoned her shirt with methodical precision, her fingers lingering over the uneven terrain beneath the fabric. Studio makeup artists had tried to conceal the scars until Myra stared her down. Let them see. Nia Cole burst in, laptop open. Orion's stock just dropped 43%. Vaughn's aides are resigning. And she swallowed hard. Vexley just ordered a full lockdown at Naval Command. Grant's knuckles whitened around his coffee cup. She's purging records. A notification pinged. Morrow's encrypted message. They're coming for you. Midnight. Burn everything. The grandfather clock in the corner ticked toward 11:37 p.m. The Vice Admiral's gambit, Vice Admiral Cora Vexley's pearls were askew when she stormed into the Pentagon black site. The smell of her Chanel No. 5 clashing with the antiseptic stench of the interrogation wing. The Marine guards hesitated at her glare. Where is he? Behind the one-way glass, Captain Dax Morrow sat shackled to a table, his eyebrow scar splitting fresh blood down his face. You were supposed to clean this up, Vexley hissed, slamming the door. Not defect. Morrow smiled, showing red-stained teeth. Funny thing about soldiers, Cora. We tend to side with the ones who actually bleed for this country. Vexley's hand flew to her sidearm. The lights went out. 3 suppressed gunshots cracked through the dark. When the emergency lights flickered on, Vexley lay gasping on the floor, her perfect uniform blooming crimson from the shoulder. Morrow stood over her, holding a guard's stolen sidearm. Message from Lieutenant Soren, he murmured, pressing the muzzle between her eyes. The uniform didn't betray me. You did? The shot echoed down the empty halls. The senator's last stand. Senator Idris Vaughn's private jet idled on the tarmac, its engines whining in the storm. He clutched his briefcase of offshore account details, cufflinks glinting under the runway lights. Taxi to position Alpha, he barked at the pilot. The cockpit door opened. Sorry, Senator. Jace Veldon leveled his service pistol with his good arm. This bird's grounded. Vaughn lunged for the emergency exit. Mira stepped from the shadows, her scarred ribs visible through her torn tactical gear. Rain sluiced down the shrapnel ridges like tears. You set the trap, she said, but you forgot Jace racked the slide. We're the ones who survived it. Vaughn's scream was lost in thunder as they dragged him back toward the flashing police lights. The Admiral's confession, the congressional hearing room, fell silent when Admiral Grant took the stand. The scent of polished wood and nervous sweat clung to the air as he laid his service. Pistol on the witness tabula tradition for those swearing to tell the full truth. He locked eyes with the Joint Chiefs. Operation Silent Tide was never a rescue mission. It was a live-fire test for Orion's AI targeting system, approved at the highest levels. A beat. I have the emails. The gallery erupted. Grant waited. When the gavel restored order, he continued quieter. Lieutenant Soren's team were lab rats. The distress call was buried. The medals were hush money. His voice cracked, and I signed the deployment orders. Mira, watching from the back row, touched her scars through her shirt. Grant straightened his spine. But today, I'm signing something else. He slid his resignation across the table. The memorial of the jungle had reclaimed the ambush site. Vines curled through rusted shell casings. Moss softened the edges of old bloodstains. Mira knelt in the mud, pressing her palm to the earth where Ruiz had bled out. Jace stood sentinel beside her, his bad arm cradling 3 dog tags. They're calling you a hero, he said. Mira shook her head, rainwater dripping from her lashes. Heroes get statues. We got scars. From his pack, Jace produced a small steel plaque. To the fallen of Silent Tide, their truth lives in our bones. They bolted it to a bullet-scarred tree. Somewhere above, a bird took flight, its wings beating. Against the storm, the new mission, the Pentagon elevator, smelled of new carpet and gun oil. Mira adjusted the unfamiliar weight of her dress blues, the silver oak leaves at her collar gleaming. The guard at the Defense Innovation Unit blinked. You're late? Mira flashed her new ID, LT, Colonel Soren, Ethical Warfare Oversight. Warren of cubicles parted as she walked. Whispers followed. That's her, ... the one who showed her scars on TV, ... that they say. She's got shrapnel in her ribs to this day, ... Mira stopped at an office door, her name stenciled on the frosted glass. Inside, a stack of Orion contracts awaited review. Red stamps reading "canceled" slashed across each. Her phone buzzed. Grant's text: "They'll try to bury you. Don't let them." Mira traced her scars through the fabric, then picked up a pen. Some wounds never healed, but they could still speak.